But we present Black proudly, present Black culture so that all can enjoy it. And it's been well received and appreciated.
So you think the Democratic Party cares about Black people?
Believe it or not, Rex, I think that tweet is part of the problem.
Do you feel like we could have addressed this homeless issue much sooner? You have to speak a word, make it a good one.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome back to The Word. Once again, I am Jackie Ray. I have neglected to do a really good Women's History Month podcast, but this one's important because I had the honor of hosting a panel of some very prestigious people in our community that received an award from an event that was created by Rhonda Love and DreamKreator. We're going to learn more about that. But we have two beautiful women here that received those awards that, you know what? We're just going to revisit this and talk about not only who they are, but what they mean to this community. So I want to start with Rhonda Love, who also, you guys, if you've been listening consistently, you know Rhonda Love very well, what she means to this community. But Rhonda, I want to start with you. Just introduce yourself and tell the people a little about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, Jackie, too. This is great. Rhonda Love, DreamKreator Studio. I'm the CEO and founder. Our mission at DreamKreator is to build community through media, art, and tech. We do a couple of things really well. We train our youth on media so they can tell their stories. We do community presentations to inform and inspire the community. And then we also do advocacy work, helping organizations so that they can thrive in the cities that they serve. And so with that, we have programs that we do. And one of those programs is Celebrating Black Excellence. And we started that in 2018. And we did a couple of virtuals through COVID and everything. And so this year, 2023, was the first in-person one. And so we wanted to just come out with a bang and just highlight some incredible people who are just doing amazing work. And we wanted to highlight them and lift them before the community so everyone can see who they are and what they do.
It was a really beautiful event. We'll talk about that in a second. But now we're going to go. I'm cheating on this one because this is my personal colleague. But Atira, introduce yourself to the people.
Sure. Atira Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Membership and Philanthropy here at the Long Beach Post. So my job is essentially to engage our community of readers around the content that we provide, including, the wonderful content that my girlfriend and colleague Jackie Ray here has to offer, but to engage the community around the awesome journalism that we're doing and really garner support from the community to keep our lights on and keep us, being able to do multimedia types of projects like The Word and our investigative journalism series. So I do this in a number of ways, but as my title implies, I kind of oversee the membership program here at the Post, which is a community of individuals that, not because they have to, but because they want to support our journalism through either monthly or annual donations. And then the second end of my title, the philanthropy piece, is one that was just bookended at the beginning of the year to my title, and this is the one that I'm especially excited about because I'm going to have the opportunity, to engage our community partners, including partners like DreamKreator, who's already, done some partnership with us here at the Post on several projects in the past, but to help bring more of those special investigative projects to our community because we believe that news and information is essential to the health of our democracy, and people really need to know what's going on. But producing the news is not free. Right. So that's why my job is what it is. It's essentially to find all of the different ways and the different partners within the community who will support our news, because that is one of the pillars of our mission, that we do believe that local news is best when it's supported by the community that it's serving.
And then we have a doctor on our panel. So Dr. Toyia Jackson.
Hey, my name is Dr. Toyia Jackson, and I've been in business strategy and conflict resolution and education for over 10 years now, probably over 13 years. And my focus mainly is, every strategy when I'm on any board has to circle back towards philanthropy. That's why teaming up with you ladies has just been a blessing, just to see that everybody is incorporating that somehow into what they're doing. And, I won't let too much of this introduction time go to me, because I'll allow you guys to get to know me based on the questions you curate.
Yeah. So if you follow me on social media, you saw I was at the event. I was quite proud of being able to host that panel. It meant actually a lot to me personally to be in a room with so many people that mean so much to the community. That's the message that I drive home a lot on this podcast is sometimes you just really, especially when it comes to politics, it's not what's going on in the big picture. That small picture is what's going to impact you directly. And so that's one of the messages that I hammer home a lot. And it was really an honor for me to sit there with people who are like-minded and are making a difference in the community. But you created this awards, Black Excellence. When you first created it in 2018, why did you feel there was a need for it?
Well, having spent my entire life in media and marketing and going to school for it and everything is really what I do is we take the spotlight and just shine it where it needs to be based on the needs of the community. And so Long Beach is a great community, and we saw a tremendous need for the light to be put on some folks that are just doing some incredible work. A lot of times very low key or very just engulfed in what they're doing, not necessarily always at all of the different events and everything that goes on in the community, but their work is impactful. And so we wanted to be a vehicle to put that out there and say, hey, look who we have in our community. And it's been really great because the community will come back to us and say, I didn't know this person. Like with Toyia, my phone has been ringing ever since we honored her. And folks are like, we didn't know she's from Long Beach. Oh my goodness. So you probably got some new likes or some followers or something like that. But it's just really great to just be a vehicle of connecting people in the community, and that's really what it's all about for us. And it's very rewarding.
Yeah, Dr. Toyia Jackson, if you don't know, she is part of the Jackson family. So that's that legacy there. But the thing that really stood out for me is just you're your own person first. And I love that. You said something though, but about you working with conflict resolution for over almost 13 years now. When it comes to the Black community specifically, before we kind of talk about your individual awards, I just want to pick both of your brains since you guys are our award winners. When it comes to the Black community specifically, we have we're branches. We have a very difficult time, in my opinion, unifying, especially when it comes to saying, this is what we're going to target, this is what we're going to address. And then in a lot of ways that ends up in conflict. If you could snap your fingers and figure out a way to help the Black community understand we have to be unified, we have to be a unified front to address some of these issues, what is a way that you would probably try to instill that in older people and younger people and everything in between?
I think historically one of the main problems has been there hasn't been enough seats at the table for all of us. So I think a lot of it is rooted in that. And I think if we look at where things are going now, just like if you even just look at us as 4 Black women sitting here not fighting or not feeling like it's competition, but rather opening the doors for each other, I would say that this is the time more than ever just to understand our power and the season that we're in. It's about being very timely, okay? Because sometimes you don't even have time to be at odds with anybody if you want to get missions executed. And I would say now, the way the economy is changing, it's not about enough seats at the table. It's about opening the door for the other person because they have something to bring into your table, right? So that's where I would start. The other thing I would say is millennials and baby boomers have a beautiful opportunity for an exchange of values right now. I mean, from the fact that I was told by a client, I didn't grow up with all this technology. And I said, that's why you got me. I got you. Because I didn't grow up with it still being a firm handshake type of business. And that's a value that I feel like as a millennial, we're kind of losing. So we can kind of like bridge the gap and just kind of keep some old school values will help us to just realize that we don't have to be at odds. Everybody got their own table, but we got to exchange goods right now.
That's such a great point. Sometimes when I go to Black journalist meetings, we talk about that a lot. We talk about how people kind of hold their jewels to themselves. And I asked, I do sports journalism as well. And I asked an old school guy, I'm like, why do you think that is? And he's like, well, I don't know why it is for you guys. He's like, but for me, I know that there's probably only one black seat in the room. So as you're young and cute, I'm not going to give you my jewels because I don't want you taking my seat. But for him to just be matter of fact about that, I was like, you know what, that makes sense. I love the Long Beach Post. I'm happy here. We're an amazing team, but I am the first Black reporter for the Long Beach Post. Mm-hmm. That's a seat.
We stop and just clap our hands for that one. Yes. And she's been doing an amazing job from day one.
But yes. Atira, to your point, has been a great advocate for that, because I've lived in the greater Los Angeles area for almost 15 years. And I've been in and out of Long Beach, especially when it comes to food and 4th of July celebrations. But aside from that, didn't really have a good grasp on what Long Beach needed. And that was my goal, was to really understand what they needed. And so I just called Atira one day. First of all, when we met each other, y'all would have thought we'd known each other forever, because we like ran each other and just gave each other a hug like, hey, girl. But I just asked her, I'm like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. Can you help me? And it wasn't, she was like rattling off names and numbers faster than I could make calls. And to your point, that is something that I wasn't even used to. I didn't know. When I met her, I knew I was going to get that kind of response just as her spirit. But being in this business for so long, I was a little like, okay, is she going to help me, or do I have to navigate this by myself?
You know, and I did a Black History Month thing at West LA College, and this student, he asked me, he said, well, how do you deal with being the only person in the room? I said, you own it. I said, and your tribe will come. And what she did was so beautiful. She was like, listen, putting something on your plate don't mean I'm not about to eat.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what we really got to keep in mind. It's like, one thing that I can't stand are information hoarders. I'm an educator. I love giving knowledge. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I feel like there's enough out here for everybody to get it.
There's more than enough.
Mm-hmm. And if you have an abundance mindset, you attract these type of relationships. Yeah. You can't operate from a place of lack.
Mm-hmm. In my mind, you're like reading my thoughts. Mm-hmm. That lack mentality, I think, is what stars our community of all of the amazing opportunities that we have to collaborate and to lift us up together as we climb. And it's not necessarily our fault right. that our minds have been conditioned to act this way, to act as if there's not enough to go around, when in reality there is. It wasn't by accident that we've been conditioned to think that way. But the chains of bondage are no longer physical. They're mental, they're emotional, and we have to be intentional about breaking those chains of bondage within ourselves and within our neighbors, our communities. And I'm talking specifically Black people right now, and I think we need to focus on us first, but I'm also talking about the community at large, because there are allies. Not everyone that calls themselves an ally is, and we have to be mindful of that. But there are people that will support and want to see you win. I'm a testament to that, because it hasn't even been 5 years that I've been living in Long Beach, and this community has embraced me.
And I think just knowing that the bottom line, there's enough, you know, right. And I think that unfortunately we are coming out of a culture of tokenism. Mm-hmm. Where there's only one seat, you know, for certain demographics and everything. But the world is changing, and it's changing quickly. And so we have to pivot from living in a place of fear, lack, limitation, not enoughness. You know, that's what my pastor, Reverend Michael Beckwith, always says. But getting out of that, and because if we don't move from that frame of mind, the table can be plentiful, but we won't get the best benefit because of how we're thinking, because we're thinking still out of fear, lack, limitations. There is enough. It's plentiful. Resources, opportunities are plentiful. And so the world doesn't have to pick either you or pick me. They can pick all of us.
Right.
And when they don't pick us all, we need to demand that they pick all of us.
Yeah. And that goes back to, you know, the idea of this table, this proverbial table that has this limited number of seats. Well, if that table is full and or there's only 1 or 2 seats available for us, there's another option. We can go ahead and build our own table. Absolutely. And create our own opportunities, but that's only possible if we work with each other. Mm-hmm. And there are talents that you have that I do not have. Mm-hmm. There are certainly talents and credentials that you have that I don't have across the board. What we need to do a better job of is identifying those strengths within each one of us and then letting people run in their own lane.
There's room. Just come on in.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to learn what you ladies are doing. I don't need not another job. I don't need not another new thing to know. Like, I don't. When I can just bless y'all with that opportunity, why would I go try to be you?
You need a team. You need somebody who is really good, because you can't do it all. Nobody could do it all. And nobody is an island. So you need, and I'm right there with you. Like, I love knowing that I can pick up. Rhonda will tell you, I'll call her sometimes. Hey, I'm working on this. You got anybody that knows anything about this? I love being able to, even if I haven't talked directly to Atira, she'll see something. I've sent her drafts of something that I'm writing, or if I've published something, she'll say, hey, you should do a podcast on this. You did this and it made me think of this, because she's got connections that I don't have. But I think that is a way that we have to help the tide shift, because I don't think, I can tell you in my 12 years as a journalist, that's not normal. But Atira, I want to go back to you, because you said something. You said, you know what? I think we need to focus on us first. I think a lot of times because that's how I am, but I think a lot of times when we say that, it's misconstrued in some way. Why do you think that is?
For the same mentality that we struggle with amongst our own is that abundance versus lack mentality, feeling like, well, if resources are going to this group, then that must naturally mean that resources are being diverted from my group. And that's not fair. So I don't want to see that. And again, there's more than enough to go around. I think also people are just now starting to wrap their minds around the idea of what equity really means. Mm-hmm. And what it doesn't mean is that people that don't deserve get just because they didn't get it before. Mm-hmm. But no, what it means is that we're leveling the playing field. Black people in particular, and then all the other letters in that in that BIPOC term, we've all experienced, some level of starting from behind the starting line, into varying degrees. Equity is kind of ensuring that those groups get pulled up to the same starting line that those of privilege have been able to start at. And I feel like the more people understand that, the less they will feel threatened by hearing. First of all, just hearing the word Black, I think, is still startling to some people. and anytime you name something, you call it out. Even POC. I was just having this conversation. Even the term POC is a little less daunting for some people than to say Black. And I always encourage people to say what you mean and mean what you say. So if we have a program that is supposed to support Black people, let's say that we're going to support Black people, okay? And although we're not excluding other people of color, we're focused on Black people. And there's nothing wrong with being intentional about that. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this group in this city has historically been disenfranchised or excluded from certain opportunities. So let us put a focus on them, or saying this specific group has had some less than favorable outcomes as far as health is concerned. Let's make sure that we give them what they need to make sure that they're healthy and able to contribute fully to the community because they're physically and mentally able.
I think that's such a good point. Rhonda and I were talking before the show, and I was telling her about a conversation I had with a politician. And I've had this with countless politicians across my career. And I've always asked, what are you specifically going to do to meet the needs of Black people? Across the board, I've heard the same response. It's like, well, when you help people, all the tide will rise and it'll lift all boats. I'm going to give the same analogy until somebody answers my question. When you're talking about a boat that has hundreds and hundreds of years of holes in it and damage in it, that boat is not going to rise just because the tide is. So what are you going to do to address that boat and not the tide? And that's not something I've had an answer to. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Sometimes it's because you're specifically saying Black people. And that, for some reason, I tell people all the time, I'm not a person of color. I'm a Black person. If you want to say African American, I'll rock with that. But I am a Black woman, and you're not going to dumb that down, because we've seen that time and time again. Even if you're talking about the civil rights movement, that benefited a lot of other people in ways that it didn't benefit us. And so when you created this excellence awards, like Atira said, you were intentional and you called it Black Excellence.
Celebrating Black excellence.
Celebrating Black excellence. Did you know that might make some people cringe? Did you care? Or did you say, you know what, Black people need to know that we are going to celebrate the excellence within our community?
As you were framing this question for me, what came to mind was whosoever will, let them come. And what I mean by that is my role, my job is to present the culture, right? And to be enjoyed and embraced by everybody. We are in downtown Long Beach. We often do things like the art walk. We do exhibits and presentations, and not everybody come through the door look like us. It's everybody, right? But we proudly present Black culture so that all can enjoy it, and it's been well received and appreciated. And so for me, I tend to focus on that. Our mission is to uphold the integrity, uphold the honor. And so we present that, and it's well received and well appreciated by several. But for me, I tend to not focus on those who have a problem with Black culture. Our job is to present it with honor, with integrity, to the highest esteem, and whoever wants to enjoy it, here it is. And that helps us when we are presenting to sponsors, when we are presenting to grantors, and let them know that's what we do. We've had amazing people that have supported this journey, and for us, we unapologetically celebrate the culture, and that's really what we, because you can't tell my story like I can,
right?
You know what I mean? And so I'm supposed to not just be in the writing room, but I am the story. I am the culture. And so who better to present and serve that than me? And so I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it very proudly. And so far, just being unapologetic and being very confident in what we're called to do has been well received by those. And again, whosoever will, let them come. If you appreciate this, and this is something that you are drawn to, come on. Those who are not may be opposed to it. In all honesty and respectfully, that's their problem, not mine.
Right.
I'm here to serve the culture, and you know what I mean. This is what I live. This is what we live. This is who we are, and who better to tell our story than for us? And that's been a challenge for a long time. Is that we haven't been able to have that seat at the table to tell our own story. Technology changed that quite a bit for us, and it opened up for us to be able to tell our own story. And so I'm honored and excited to be able to do that, and not need distribution from Hollywood or just the old business models and everything. And it's been a great experience. Of course, anything you do is not going to be received by everybody, but again, the salesperson looks at his audience, who's my demographics, and that's who I serve.
Right. And so as you're sitting down and you're forming these awards and you're thinking about the Black people in the community who do represent excellence, tell me why Atira stood out to you.
Atira is incredible. Let me just say that she's incredible. I've been knowing her for a while now, since she first came to the Post. She quietly has done so much in this city. She has supported some of the biggest activations that are happening right now. Case in point, the African American Culture Center. She was an early pioneer, early adapter, early administrator there, or helping them to organize and get all of that going. She also gave a big voice and was the first person to call me about when the city was going to celebrate Juneteenth. She played a huge role in the visionary process of that as well. And then, of course, the work that she's doing here at the Post. And so she's one of those folks that she's reminds me of what I call win people. I was a win person for many years. And, the win is something that is very strong, very mighty. You can feel its presence, but you can't always see it. And so my role as being one that supported public figures for many, many years, you see my work, but you don't see me. And so she reminds me of just kind of a win person and everything. And so I wanted to put some color to the win so people can see, like, look, this girl is awesome and amazing. And so she was just a perfect one to celebrate as we came out of COVID. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for the honor.
And then what about Dr. Toyia Jackson?
So Dr. Toyia Jackson is just amazing.
I just got to say the whole title. I can't just say Toyia or Dr. Toyia Jackson. It just sounds so good.
Sounds so wonderful.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
So she is an example of the excellence that have come out of Long Beach, and her call has called her to be outside of Long Beach, but still passionately loves the city, and she's out there doing great work and making us proud. And so when you watch her work, her philanthropy type of work that she does, if you look at her posts and she's speaking in different places and everything, and she walks in excellence and walks in integrity. And I really just wanted to show Long Beach, look, here's Toyia, Dr. Toyia Jackson. She's from Long Beach and this is what she does. And she's absolutely incredible, but, and she's solid, just really solid. And definitely a voice that even though she's out doing other things and everything, we still want her to have a presence here and a voice here in the city. And so we wanted to be a part of not making that happen, but be a part of continuing that, because you have a lot of us who are out there doing great things and we're abroad. So she's one of those people who is abroad, but Long Beach is her hometown. She reps it and she's doing great work that we should be proud about. So that's why I really wanted to honor her.
I appreciate you. I just want to say one thing that I love about this conversation is the exchange of the mentorship. And so every time you reach out to me, sometimes you don't even know. I'm like, oh, I kind of needed that. That was like it was a break from the grind and being unseen and not being heard. Because even when you're at a lot of these meetings, it's like it gets to a point as a Black woman where it's like sometimes you literally say to yourself, they just don't get it. So when you get to have these type of exchanges, you keep feeling us. When we interact with you, you feel us. So I just wanted to say that.
And this is one of the things that I hope people take from this. Even if it's a small circle of 4, you need a circle. And then that circle can branch out to other circles. And I think that that's one of the things that is so important. And then it doesn't have to be just Black women. I love my sisters though. I ain't gonna lie. But, Black people, as long as you can have that bond with each other. But I do think for us specifically, because of, like Malcolm X says, we are the most disrespected, neglected demographic. We go through a different kind of mental exhaustion sometimes. And so I'm just thankful that you acknowledge that, and all of your works that you do, you acknowledge that. So I'm thankful that you gave me the opportunity to not only host this panel, but to bring you back on and just have this very candid and very open conversation. I do want to ask though, each of you, we'll start with you, Rhonda, but I do think we need to start extending branches and have more of these conversations. It doesn't have to be on the Word podcast, but I do think we need to do that. What's one way you think that we can do that to start having conversations with, like Dr. Toyia Jackson says, from millennials to baby boomers and everything in between? How can we start having more of these conversations?
I think it's really just about we're a community, and so we are a community that needs to conversate. So having community conversations, it doesn't have to be, as a ceremony, but just as a community, setting aside time to come together and talk and get this information out, and it doesn't have to be a room full of folks. We've got on demand and streaming and all these other ways that people can get this information when they have the time to do it. But if nothing else, is important to get the information out, to have conversations and to talk and everything. I talk to a whole lot of people oftentimes one-on-one, you see the need where people need this information, the connection, the connectivity. When we started doing the Celebrating Excellence, the very first thing that we did was incorporate community conversations, the village coming together to talk. And we noticed that it was just soothing to be able to do that, just to come together and just to talk, heartfelt, organic, grassroots, heart to heart, let's talk. And so I think being able to do that more, and I'm feeling like it's gonna happen here for sure. But being able to just talk and to let our communities know that we are here, that we are having the same journey, the same experience, and being able to just help one another. Sometimes it isn't always about, can I physically be present? Can I, here's a check, sometimes it's really just being able to speak what your journey has been about, to speak about what you're going through that can change a person's whole life. And so I think just being able to have settings like this, having settings like what we just had, in terms of the ceremony, and really just getting a spot and just coming together and just chopping it up and talking and having those conversations on a regular basis is very important and key.
I just plan to utilize my position and my role here at the Post to expose as many people as I can to the awesome journalism that we're doing. And in particular, whenever there's something great that is either being published by a Black journalist or something that is important to the Black community, I'm very intentional on sharing that, whether it be through social media or other platforms. And I'm looking forward to in the near future to be able to bring that to another level and to be able to facilitate the convening of our communities around journalism that is focused on information that is essential to our community.
I agree with everything you both said. And I think that for me, it's very important that I continue to make time to reach out personally and just say, is there anything you need? What do you have going on? Can I help with something? And leave it at that. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes, that person that only call you because they need something right quick, and you just, continue to build those values. I want to really, really, really hype you two ladies up because I feel like our stories as Black people should go to Black journalists first if they can. And it's so important because I can't say who, but I ran into a Black journalist and he was having a hard time getting a story about somebody in my family because their team wanted to give it to somebody else. And so, but we loved on him and he's getting the stories now and stuff because we all kind of huddle around and we talk about these things. But I think we should support our Black journalists especially if we want to be really hardcore on making sure the story is rolled out accurately and not from a standpoint of not putting Black people in the right light. Right. That's a conversation that's not had enough. And like you guys said, continuing to create spaces like this.
Jackie, I just want to say you have been incredible in this city.
Oh,
I'm
thank
so
you.
thankful that you are here. And, I was saying earlier before we did the podcast that you don't know how it was before you were here
Right.
because you weren't here, right?
Right.
But, I can attest that there is absolutely a change in terms of having voice here on the major, what we would call the major media outlets here in the city. You have really provided a voice for Black people, of course, but for people of color, and with regards to giving us assistance where accountability is needed in things that happen in the city. And so I really thank you. I'm so glad you are here.
Well, thank you.
And you have just really been, I can't think of any other word than a blessing to us in this community, and just really, really thankful. I've seen a time where being able to call, your local media or newsroom to see if a story could be, if they would take a story or would help you with something, you may or may not even get a chance to speak to somebody, but you have been such an incredible outlet for the community and just an extra voice to help us get things out that are important, that affect us all. And so thank you so much for your hard work as a journalist and everything.
It's a blessing to be able to do what I love. And it's not lost on me to be here at the Post at this specific time. I feel like my journey, like you said, you got to know the journey. And my journey led me here for a reason. And I feel blessed and honored to be here. The Post is great. They've embraced me and my blackity blackness, as you said. So and that's not a space that I've really been in before, where it's embraced. I've been blackity black, but it's not necessarily been embraced. So it's a blessing for me as well. So we are mutually blessed. Won't he do it?
Amen. Amen.
Before we go down a whole gospel route, I just want to close this one out. And I just want to thank you guys so much. This was a great conversation. It's a conversation I think we should definitely have again. So we'll probably have to talk about that off air. But thank you so much to all of you for just being you on each individual level. You guys have meant so much to me in different ways. You answering questions candidly and not knowing me and just feeling a connection immediately. That was not lost on me either. I definitely appreciate you. Atira, you've been my ride or die since day one. I appreciate you. Rhonda, you too. I called you one day. I was like, hey, Atira gave me your number. He's like, oh, okay. So, I just appreciate this circle, and I'm glad you guys are part of my village. And thank you for coming on and just telling us a little bit about your road to creating the Celebrating Black Excellence and letting us know that you are going to continue to do that. I appreciate you. All right. That's our time, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on The Word. And you know what to do. If you have to speak a word, make it a good one. We'll see you next time.